So, you want me to go literally through hell for you, defeat countless unimaginably dangerous monsters and put myself into only God knows how much danger for inconclusive period of time?
Yes.
Sign me up, babe.
If you're searching for the most anime game there is, look no further. Code Vein gives you all the typical tropes and more, but is it any good? Let's find out. To start this video, first of all I have to clarify some things. I don't consider myself a gamer, I play games regularly, but I'm not the type to master them. You may call me a casual gamer. This is important because I don't care that much about how good the gameplay really is. I'm not exploring every build and option there is in a game. Also, I'm not searching for bugs and how to break the game. This being said, I still enjoy challenge, and I don't like games that are too easy. But also don't like games that are too hard, and also I consider the story as important or even more important than the gameplay. So, although I haven't played them at this point, I'm probably not the Dark Souls type. And Code Vein basically is anime Dark Souls. I found the gameplay of Code Vein very good actually. It was kind of perfect for my liking because it wasn't too easy and wasn't too hard. I've seen pretty clashing opinions online about how does this game compare to Dark Souls games, and people generally found this easier, but not all of them. Combat here is fun and fast, but for hardcore gamers it probably isn't that good, because parts of it were just smashing my way further without even thinking about it. But there is one exception in the whole game where difficulty is cramped up, and it's the Cannoneer and Blade Bearer boss fight. You see, you have to fight two bosses here. It's not the only boss fight with several opponents, but it's the only one where both of them are equally strong. And let me tell you, I've spent probably hundreds of times trying to beat them. This one fight took me longer than all of the other boss fights together. This fight felt very unorganic with the rest of the game. Maybe it's just me, but that's my experience. But there is a good side to it. This fight forced me to really explore the game mechanics because the game was so easy before. I didn't care about builds, abilities and weapons so much. When I started to explore this, I found out that Code Vein has one of the best leveling systems I've seen. The thing I liked so much is that you can change the build pretty easily during the game. It's not one of those cases where if you fail at the start you have to restart the game. Also, the combination of clothes and weapons is really important and you really have to pay attention to it, because it can make you much stronger and faster or weaker and slower. Your build also impacts what clothes and weapons you can use, so from this perspective the build is really important. The bad side of it is that I didn't find that abilities do much in this game. The most important is weapon clothes combination, and if it's good you can probably play without using any abilities at all. For me the best option was to use two-handed sword for strength attacks, and then changing the weapon to bayonet for dexterity attacks and shooting. I found shooting much more useful than any magic in this game. However, shooting in this game kind of is a magic attack. It is required to use Ichor for the shooting, and Ichor is mana in Code Vein. All this being said, the fights felt the same at the end of the game as it was at the start. The enemies also didn't change much, they were pretty much the same, using the same attacks only stronger. One more thing I would like to mention which I really liked was the mini-map in this game. Code Vein doesn't tell you where to go, there are no markings, but it has a dotted path which shows where you've been, and it's really useful because it prevented me from running around the same places I've been already. But it still keeps the fun of exploration because it doesn't tell you where to go. But only good gameplay wouldn't make me interested in the game. Let's talk about how it feels to play this game. The game design and style is where Code Vein really shines and also falls apart. First of all, let's talk about the character creator. It's one of the best I've seen in any game ever. The customization options are huge. Maybe there's a lack of clothes available, but still, this is great. You can really make your perfect anime hero here. I also like that the game has ability to save your characters and then easily load them. You don't have to remake them every time. That's pretty cool, and I would like to see that in more games. The home base where you can trade items also is one of the coolest looking game dwellings I've ever seen. It is very detailed and goes in harmony with the motive of vampires. What can be better irony than a bunch of vampires living in an abandoned Gothic church? I also very much like the jukebox where you can play some music. And I have to tell you as a metal music fan that the music was very good here. But not only the metal songs, music throughout the game is just epic. It is a very strong good point here. It perfectly complemented overly dramatic anime feel of this game. The game is a true drama anime in its heart, with friendships being super important, everyone dramatizing over the simplest things and dwelling in memories of how they lived before the great collapse. The villain Mido also is the most anime-style psychopath you can imagine. It is a pity, though, that he wasn't featured enough here. I would love to see more of him. I love the game mechanic of characters' memories. As revenants who are vampires, basically they don't remember their lives before they became revenants. Player can collect vestiges, which are ruby-like stones which contain those memories. Then player is thrown into some heartbreaking memory of a character. My friends died in order for me to survive, and now I am ready to die for you any hour, minute, or second, because I am your friend. That sort of thing, and I love this. But if you don't like this cheesiness, then run as far as you can, because this whole game is like a giant cheesecake. It also features not only giant cheesiness, but giant boobs and swords too. But I guess you already know that. But now, let's talk about things I did not like so much. The home base may have been very cool, but the actual gameplay areas were not impressive, to put it lightly. I know that this isn't some big budget game, but these areas really felt like an old game from 2000s. They are very linear and enemies just randomly stand in the way. While the character design in the game was great, the area design lacked details and were just kind of boring. For me, these places felt very uninspiring compared to the boss and character design. I don't know how it works in Dark Souls games, but I also didn't like the teleporting system. The save at the missile, which is bonfire in Dark Souls, is fine, but the way you just teleport from one area to another felt very unorganic in my opinion. These areas really felt just like battle stages, not a real living world. And there is a constant feel that this is not an open world. Yes, this game really is not an open world, but I've played not open world games where this aspect felt better, but here it was kind of claustrophobic. Story in Code Vein is not bad, but there is a problem with its execution. When the player starts the game, she is kind of overwhelmed with all the information regarding the Code Vein world. And it's fine, but the problem is that it doesn't feel that the story develops organically. There is some kind of dissonance between the gameplay and the story. Before and after boss fights there can be a pretty long cutscenes, and that's cool, I love cutscenes, but some of the fights doesn't feature any cutscenes at all. Especially bad this is at the end of the game. The last fight doesn't have any storyline before it. It doesn't feel at all that this is it. Code Vein kind of puts all the cards on the table already at the start. Like this is what I am, like it or not, and it stays the same until the very end. Although the story definitely develops, it doesn't feel like it. Usually when the story is well integrated you can feel the tension at the end, and the game becomes more intense. Here nothing of sorts happens. Gameplay and difficulty are also the same as they were at the start of the game. Code Vein is definitely a good game, but is it the best of the best? No, not really. And I'm not even talking about comparing it to big games like GTA or Cyberpunk. I've even played a better anime game, and it's Lacrimosa of Dawn. At the start I thought that Code Vein would be 9 out of 10, but unfortunately I didn't feel the epic ending in this game. The ending was kind of bland. But still, I hope that there will be a next Code Vein game, and I also recommend playing it. It has a great potential. I give this game 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching.